My mother was born in Tehran in 1944, and her name is Zohreh. She wanted us to be independent women, educated, like all the things I think she wanted to be and she couldn't. I was lucky enough to grow up in a house like always oil paint because she was doing some paintings at home. So she loved to do landscapes and stuff. So I was little, and the smell of like oil paint is something nostalgic for me. There are 3 points in my life I feel like I felt very close to my mother as a woman living in Iran with all the problems we had, and in those 3 times. I felt really close to her, and I felt how she was trying to support me. Anyway, you can imagine. I talked to my parents one day and said, "Listen, I want to study art." And not surprisingly, but she was very, very supportive. I was very glad she didn't want me to be doctor or engineer like my sister. So, but she made a condition like you study art, but you have to go to this particular university, which was one of the hardest to get in Iran, and like they would have 10 people every year. That's it. And then when the result came, our phone rang, and I was number 17 in Iran. And I remember my mom was like, it was, at that time we didn't have cell phone. So we were both like on the phone, house phone, and said, you are accepted with number 17. And she started like, oh, crying. And I never forget at that moment how we hugged each other and we couldn't stop crying, and that cry was crying of happiness. So the second cry we had, it's not a very nice one to talk about, but that's the reality, a part of my life. Like I was 19, coming back from university actually, with a really loose long clothes covering my head, my drawings in my hand, and I was walking in Mirdamad Street, which was our house, to go home. And then a really weird man with a big boss and some covered women in black came, stopped me and asked me to go with them. And I was really scared and shocked. I didn't know what was I doing wrong. And I said, you don't cover yourself properly. So apparently there were like a little bit of hair out. And so anyway, I went to the boss. They put me in jail, and I asked some of the women there to ring my parents and tell them where I didn't have cell phone at the time. So anyway, that was really scary. I still think why I spent one day beside some criminals somewhere. Like it's still in my head. What did I do? So the day I was free to go and I signed some paper. In jail I was just half a day, but anyway, we were back and forth. So we got a taxi, and so the taxi stopped at the jail door. My mom and myself went to the taxi. The taxi driver just asked, because she could see our faces, sad and tired, and why we were at jail. We didn't look like criminals. So he just asked what happened. We couldn't speak, so we cried, hugging each other in the back side of taxi. We both were feeling the same, my mother and me, 2 women living in this society, and our only fault and sin was being a woman, nothing else. So it's unbelievable. I think nobody can understand if you don't have that experience. Like, just being a woman was my crime. So anyway, that was the second time. And the third time is myself and my 2 sisters. We left Iran quite about 15 years, all of us. And then she started to feeling really lonely, and she wanted us to leave. She wanted us to have a better life, but I could feel she was a different woman, kind of depressed, maybe. I've decided for her a birthday gift, give her this painting class. She loves to paint with watercolor, but it was about 30 years she wouldn't touch even a pencil or brush. So as I said, 5 years ago, that's the best word I can use, dragged her to a painting class. She didn't want to go. She was feeling not sociable. She didn't want to talk to anybody. So, and she couldn't stop crying like a little child. So that moment I felt like I was her mother. And I did exactly what she did for me 30 years ago when she put me into that drawing class. I was thinking, no, I don't want to go, as a child. So anyway, now she is a different woman. She is again alive. She paints. She enjoys her life. We have something to talk about, which is art. And it's great. So I show her my paintings. She showed me her paintings. And so, yeah, and that was the third cry.